Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I would like to so I'd like to discuss about harnessing opportunities in academia and research in Malaysia. So first, universities in Malaysia are categorized into the public and the private universities. The universities are around 20, the polytechnic around 33, and then the private university, you have the local and you have the international university campus here in Malaysia, such as universities like University of foreign universities in Malaysia. I'm trying to remember their name. There's so many. So if you study there, you get a certificate from there. So people also use that as an opportunity to study. So, but the polytechnic in Malaysia don't accept international students, but they do accept for universities, and the private university accepts international students. So Malaysian qualification results are manned by Malaysian Qualification Agency, and that there are different rankings based on engineering, sciences, and all that. So typically, for postgraduate studies, for international students, their funding is through the Ministry of Education. Now there are four different types, four major different types of fundings. One is the PRGS, known as the Prototype Development Research Grant. So what this means is that a student can work with a proposed supervisor who has this grant and be able to get monthly stipends. So through this monthly stipends, the student can, pay their school fee, pay for utilities, house rent, and a couple of other things. So you have the PRGS, there is a TRGS, which is known as Transdisciplinary Research Grant Scheme. This one involves researchers from different disciplines, like somebody from English coming to match with somebody from engineering, from sciences, and they develop a research. So, and then you have the amount of this is, quite enormous, 1.5 billion ringgits. And the maximum number of years that this research can be completed is around 3 years. So again, we have the long-term research grant scheme. So these are based on universities, and they have between 3 to 5 years. So every one of these grants has their own maximum grant limit that you can get. And then lastly, there is fundamental research grants. So this is quite small, around 250,000 ringgit for say a year or 2 years. So typically, what is in these for international student is, number one, it is highly dependent on each university's standard operating procedure. So which is determined by students' eligibility and what is covered. For a master's program, usually, the last I know, the maximum allowance that you can get per month is 1,800 ringgits. So all other expenses which I have mentioned earlier, such as the students' school fee, accommodation, feeding, and all that is being borne by the students. So for PhD, maximum allowed is around 2,500 to 3,000 ringgits. Same, all other expenses is borne by the students. But some of these grants, like I said, is highly dependent on each university's standard operating procedure. Some universities can add on to the students' allowance based on their allocation, based on their university allocation. I know of a university such as University of Tunku Abdurrahman at least had on 1,000 ringgits to the 1,800 and the 2,500 ringgit per month for each student, so that it can ease the burden for them, so that they can pay their school fee and then they can, live comfortably. So another university technology patroners, usually those ones can waive school fee. And in some cases, even if you don't have the grant, they do have their own internal grants where they pay the school fee and they give you monthly stipends. So I was a recipient of this UTP grants, where they pay your monthly allowance, and they pay your school fee, they pay for conference fee and some other things as well. So it depends on each university. So that is why for a student who wants to apply, who has seen a potential supervisor, needs to find out, get all the details, what is covered, what is not covered, for how long, what is the duration, so that the student can plan on how to, on the living expenses while here. So usually, generally, the area of interest that is covered is information and communication technology, technology and engineering, pure and applied sciences, health and clinical sciences, literature and literature, and the natural and cultural heritage. These are typically the areas that are covered under these grants through the Ministry of Education in Malaysia. Now, there are some other funds too, through the Ministry of Science and Technology and Innovation, which are such as the Smart Challenge Fund, Science Fund, and some other funds. So, but the basic thing is that once the students want to study in Malaysia, first you need to look for masters and PhD, you need to look for a potential supervisor, and then find out if they have a grant. If they have a grant, you need to find out what is covered, what is not covered, what is the duration, what are the terms and conditions of, because it does have a terms and condition. For some cases, they need you to provide or to be able to have a journal publication within 1 year. So if you don't, they stop the grant. So, it has a lot of do's and don'ts and all that. So these are the things that the potential student needs to find out before embarking on studying in Malaysia. So aside this from the Ministry of Education, universities also, different universities have their own internal grants. There is what you call the University Fellowship. Universities can give scholarship as well, just like I mentioned the previous one that I received from University Technology Patroners. There is also an assistantship scheme. There are different schemes. There is also a teaching assistant where a student can be a part-time lecturer or a part-time tutor or a part-time grader while you're studying. You get a monthly stipend, you can use it to offset your school fees and some other things. And there are also scholarships, which are known as endowments. This fund, they're not so much, but at least they can, help a student who can afford to pay school fee, but, living expenses is a problem. So this can help through living expenses. And then you have some other research assistants. They have quite a lot. But the issue is that one has to inquire properly before embarking on it. So you need to find out, okay, what is in this for me? Okay, what are the conditions? What should I be able to fulfill to be able to, for this grant to continue? So these are some of the things that needs to be, really, really discussed before a student decides to study here. So there's some other external grants, which, most of us know, that are open to international students that are studying in other countries. So some of them are the Commonwealth Scholarship and Fellowship. So there is this scholarship by the Malaysian government to other international students. So it's called the MTCP scholarship. So, and there is other international scholarship and grants that academics can obtain from other international agencies, which they can use to sponsor students too, who are the research students. And there are so many other scholarships by the OIC. So I'd like to talk about the pros and cons of studying in Malaysia. Typically, it's relatively cheap. It is quite cheap. Trust me, with the monthly master's 1,800 ringgit and the PhD 2,000, you can live comfortably. As in, you can live, you can eat, you can pay your school fee. Plus, the plus side is that it's an Islamic environment. You can relate with the environment, you can relate with the people, you can practice your deen. And then another one is that it's a stepping stone. Malaysia is a stepping stone. It's not a place that you can live for a very long time. They really don't want people to come and live for a very long time. So it's a stepping stone. And then usually it is very difficult to get permanent residency and jobs. Yes, those are one of the cons. Getting a permanent residency and job is quite difficult. Plus, it's a developing country. They just had advantage that they are more focused. Otherwise, Nigeria could also do better. So for students who are willing or who wants to go higher or who wants to come here, yes, I know of some people who after finishing maybe master's or PhD from here, they got offers from New Zealand, from Canada, from US. A lot of people are moving. Once they come here, this, probably finish one postgraduate degree or finish an undergraduate degree, they can move somewhere else. The opportunities. In fact, numerous Australia, and we have a lot of people who have gone there. So it requires a lot of planning. So it's not a place where you can stay for a very long time. But it's a place where you can get education at an affordable price. And in some cases, you're lucky, you can get it as almost free. You get some funds through some research funds, you do the research, you get monthly paid, you can plan, you pay your school fee, it's not so expensive. The living expenses are not so expensive, utilities are not expensive, they're not expensive too. So the basic thing is that it's a stepping stone. It's not a place to stay. So from there, just like Ajia Bilkis too was here for a master's, and now she's in Qatar for a PhD. So, when you finish from here, maybe master's or PhD, you can get other or better offers somewhere else, where you can probably get a PR or jobs, or where you can get a stay or a citizenship. So I think that will be all from me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Kafayat. If there's anything I was able to pick, it's Malaysia is a place for quality and affordable education. And like you mentioned, it's not a permanent residence, actually. No, it's actually transit to the bigger thing. Jazakumullah khairan for sharing your thoughts and for sharing your experience. Larry, what do you abundantly. Now we'll move on to the next speaker, which is, we'll take a break about the experience. So before we take the second experience from Ajia Bilkis Banere, we'll call on Dr. Ibrahim Murtala to take us through the part of opportunities in research and development world. So like I introduced him earlier, Dr. Ibrahim Murtala, he graduated from Lagos State University, Chemical and Polymer Engineering, where he had his bachelor's. He had his master's degree in process engineering and plant design from BTU, Germany. He's a Korean registered engineer, like I mentioned earlier, and he's a visiting professor at Cole University, Enugu. At the same time, an adjunct faculty at Kenyan German Center for Mining, Environmental Engineering, and Resource Management. Dr. Ibrahim Murtala, you have the floor.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Yes, Alhamdulillah, the title of my discussion today, we focus on career paths and opportunities in the R&D world. Dr. Ojibile, Dr. Ayituru, and Dr. Sharafaddin, and now Dr. Kafaya, they've discussed much on different opportunities. So what I'll try to do is to introduce us to the world of academia, research, and industry collaboration, how we can harness the opportunities in all these sectors as a researcher, and how you can become a researcher, and how you can ensure that you are part of the emerging opportunities in the economy wherever you are. So like I said, the focus of my talk will just basically be on career paths and opportunities in the R&D world. So looking at what you have, you look at the university as the knowledge center, you look at the private sector as the provider of the funds and the user of the knowledge from the university. Then you have the government who gives the regulatory framework and incorporation of universities and necessary support. So all this is to look into how to boost or improve local economy or revitalize local economy. And as a researcher, you might end up being either in the university or in the private sector or in governance. So this is why I say research world or research and development world is a place for everyone. So it's a place where you can play your part And what you have next is the university as an academic sector, the industry as the business sector, and the government as the governance structure. So in all, as engineers, you have the possibility to play a big role in all this place. And as engineers, when we look at what we do, we provide technology, we provide solution, we look at our environment and offer opportunities on how to manage resources. So what we do in the research world is, first, we build on the knowledge development through the academia. We look into technology development through collaboration with industry, with government, with NGOs, with foundations, and any other organization. Then with industry, where they offer business service. So, and all in all, we provide technology solution or technological solution. So, and we have a rating, which we call technology readiness level. So from 1 to 9. So, and this depends on what kind of research you do. If you are at the level of master's, PhD, you still focus on maybe TR1 down to TR3. So, and if you are into research to industry, maybe you focus on 3R6 down to 9, depending on what you do. So, I would also like to point out what is available in the Science Industry Corporation. So as a researcher, you ensure technology transfer structures, which has to do with looking at different technology, relating with companies, commercializing your research results in terms of patenting and the likes. And you also have to build collaboration and negotiation with stakeholders, and which we call network building. And you also have to market. So what we do is we research, we develop solution, you produce some products, and you have to get them to the public. So more or less like marketing. Then on the other side, you look at what are the qualities that a researcher must have. So one, you must ensure you build your professional competence. You can manage projects, research projects, contract research for commercial companies and the likes. You are able to know how to convert research results into businesses. I will still come down to that. You are also involved in science marketing, because what we do is science marketing. We try to come with solutions. And at the end of the day, you develop institution or you manage institution, and you do knowledge transfer by going back to the academia. So you do research, you bring your research to the market, then you learn from what is happening to the product for more product development, then you go back to the university. So this is why some of us triangulate between lecturing, going to do research, going to the business world. So you move around all these circles. Now, furthermore, looking at the research you have around the world, from Malaysia to Germany to USA to Saudi Arabia, down to different parts of the world, you have to also ensure you engage in internationalization activities and also interdisciplinary research. Then you engage in some kind of cluster of excellence. So research centers that are really doing well and they have a very high competence in one particular field. Then this research emanates into a situation where you have innovative spin-off, or we call them scientific spin-off, or innovative startup. So when you look at the big companies around the world today, for example, Bosch or Daimler, Mercedes-Benz, so what they do around the world is they try to engage in a kind of business spin-off. So if they have solution to their problems, they'll be able to support you with some grants, then you can take up some PhD position from this particular problem you're helping them to solve under a kind of university partnership. So there are several opportunities around there. And most times when you engage in this kind of industrial related postgraduate program, you end up working with those companies, or you start your own business spin-off, like a kind of small venture to provide service for this company. Like I said initially, we have interdisciplinary research, and like Sister Kafaya said, so transdisciplinary research. So we also have multidisciplinary research. So you don't focus on one thing. So for example, maybe if you're a chemical engineer, you look into some aspects of biology, biochemistry, down to genetics, chemistry, economics, technology, commercialization, and the likes. So the most important thing in this is open your mind to opportunities and also be open to continuous learning. Now, in the German system, for example, what we have is after your master's program, so you will be given the opportunity to do your PhD if you find one, and in a university, or even a company, you will have the opportunity to do it in an industrial company or industrial PhD, which we call industrial PhD. And this is at the master's level. So if you also want to go on, you have your promotion, which is your PhD. Then if you feel you want to further in this field of research, you might engage in a kind of a postdoctoral phase. Then at this point, if you feel like, okay, I really want to be at the peak of my academic career, you can engage in a kind of habilitation, which is similar to like a second PhD for you to get a professorship. Or you might go into having a kind of a group leader where you become a research group leader. There you have your funds, you can access your fund and the likes, and you can also employ PhD students, master students to do some tasks for you. Or you engage in tenure track professional assignments, so for you to be confirmed as a full professor, or you engage in junior professional role. So it depends on how you want it. As a researcher, you can also, you start from the level within the EU. They have a standard called first stage researcher, R1, R1 mostly at the level of masters, then R2 at the level of a recognized researcher, at the level of maybe after the masters, then established researcher, you will be able to publish something or patent something on some of your research, and a leading researcher. So you have this. But all in all, what do? You engage in teaching activities or lecturing activities, you publish your findings, you offer consulting services to companies, and and you also do some advisory role in terms of policy development with people in governance. You also manage innovation and also write a proposal for grants and the likes, and you manage the institution that you work, maybe like a kind of the chair of an institute or the director of an institute or a research center. Now, in Germany, we have several streams of funding which you can access for your master's as well as for your PhD. And some of all these institutions are available, and they also have a lot of their programs advertised. So mostly the highly funded ones are the ones that get the private funding, which is the companies themselves. So followed by maybe the government-owned research institutions that are already like a kind of they are centers on their own. They are centers of excellence. So you have Fraunhofer Institute, Emote Institute, you have McPlance Institute, and the likes, and you have several universities around. So this is just the structure of different kind of funding streams. So, and everyone engaged in basic research to the applied research. So you have the public funding, you have the private funding. So now let's look into how to find programs that are well funded. So you have, for example, the development related postgraduate courses here in Germany, which is offered by DAD. Dr. Joshua already mentioned DAD. So they have several streams of funding. So you can always access everything on their website. So and they are fully funded. And the German Academic Exchange Service, which is the DAD, also realized that there is a high flow of people who want to come down to Germany or different parts of Europe to have their masters or their PhD, and they also had to establish academic excellence centers of excellence, so which is called African Excellence. And in these places, you can go there to do programs similar to what you can have in many Western universities or advanced country universities. In terms of their curriculum, in terms of their course content, in terms of their lecturers, and things like that. And I would also like to advise my Muslim brothers and sisters when it comes to every one of us with BSc in chemical engineering or electronics and computer engineering or mechanical engineering. When you go for your master's, it's always advisable to do a master's that is interdisciplinary. So for example, if you have bachelor in chemical engineering, you may go for master's in renewable energy and process engineering. If you do your bachelor's in electronics and computer engineering, you may focus on maybe master's in something related to maybe cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. So just be broad and try to open yourself to opportunities. So for these African Centers of Excellence, there are many of them around in different parts of Africa. So there are 10, and now they are getting to 12. So from Ghana to Congo to Namibia, and they offer many of these master's and PhD programs in relation to what is obtainable in anywhere in the world. So it's also a way to bring those knowledge closer to us. So, and I think Nigeria is yet to be part of this, and this is something we've been working on. And inshallah, I think this will come to reality soon. So on the other side, there's also the WASCA, the West African Science Service Center on Climate Change and Adapted Land Use. So here you also have a lot of different courses that are offered at master's level and at PhD level. Funded programs are all with scholarship. And I think two universities already is involved in Nigeria. So Federal University of Technology, Akure, and also Federal University of Technology, Mina. And I think more universities from Nigeria will be coming on board very soon. So, and we have different universities across the West African region. So in the southern region too, you also have the SASCA, which is called the Southern African Science Center, Science Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management. So you also have from Botswana to South Africa, and you have a lot of them around in all this place. So nice programs, which we as engineers, we can also look into, because now it's not only about what we do in engineering, what can we use the engineering knowledge to bring into the climate issue, to bring into agriculture, to bring into water, information technology, and the likes. I would also like to point out that if you have your master's already or if you have your PhD already, you want to go up to the professorial level, you have something here in Germany called the DFG, so German Research Foundation. So it's a highly funded program. When you have this, you are sure of getting a lot of things you want to do in your research, and also maybe if you want to have your stay and the likes, all these are possible through DFG. Helmholtz Foundation is also there. So this is always encouraged for people who are already in the academia in Nigeria, for example. They may engage in Helmholtz Foundation, then they get a scholarship to come down to Germany to do their postdoc or to do their kind of professorial research activities and the likes. And also you have the postdoctoral fellowship of the DAD, the German Academic Exchange Service. I will also point out what is also peculiar around, not only in Germany, it's also around the European Union. So you have the Erasmus and Mundus, which already, Dr. Aito already mentioned to us. So, and yearly they have, okay, for 2021 now, they have 2,450 scholarship at master's level as well as PhD too. So you just have to search across different universities in the European Union. Then when it comes to searching for research opportunity, research work or doing your PhD, at times even doing your master's, is like you're also working. So, and you can utilize this website, Erasmus. So it's like you're searching for a job, but you realize that everything is all about research opportunities. So for masters, thesis down to PhD topics, then you'll be doing this maybe with a company or with a university. So this website is very powerful tool for you. Then going back to Nigeria too, because I also realized that part of the challenge we have is that the funds to study abroad is very challenging. And at this point, I will also want to point out this, that the World Bank too also engage in scaling up of our higher education centers by establishing Center for Excellence in Africa. So in any course related to STEM, so you have OAU ICT-driven knowledge park where you can have your MSc and PhD, then Center for Oil Field Chemical Research, Uniport, where I also supervise some PhD students here. So you have the Pan-African Mature Institute. Then for if you want to do something related to agric, and there's a Federal University of Agriculture in Abeokuta. So there's a center there where you can have an international master's or international PhD program. And I think Makodi, Bayero, in Kano, Zaria, so and in related. Then in Lesotho, recently, I'm also aware of the World Bank Center that offers a master's program and PhD program, because nowadays too, in engineering, we also have what we call engineering education. So if you feel you really want to go back to the engineering education, I think this program in Lesotho is a very good program, especially people who are IT inclined people. But I know it's really for people in the education field, but now there's a discussion about the possibility of bringing other people on board. So I think they offer masters in education and entrepreneurship, masters in ICT education with specialty in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. And I think they also offer the PhD program. So this is just a kind of information for every one of us. So when we also look at the African continent in general, the AU is also doing something similar like this through the Pan-African University. And I think in Nigeria too, we also have life and earth science related in agriculture and things like that. So we have many of them around. You can also search them online. The other aspect which I will also point out is opportunities for we engineers and where we can find them. There are several opportunities out there. So ResearchGate is a very good tool to find funded PhD programs, and also the Elsevier group through Science Eric and Scopus are also very good tools to find publications and people you can collaborate with your research work and also find them and write them and things like that. Springer, and I think Elsevier also did something when this COVID-19 issue began. They offer a lot of textbook for free, which you can download. And so Taylor Francis, IEEE, Relay, everything is there. So you just search, you will find everything online. The other aspect which I would like to close my discussion on is it's sometimes you might feel like you don't have the resources to travel abroad. And there is several massive online open learning out there where you can also engage in some short courses or some advanced courses. In fact, some are also offering micro masters and also nano degree certification. So you have the Udacity, Coursera, iVarsity, FutureLearn, Open SAP is another platform which is very good. So under Alinsin, there are many of them out there which we can utilize. And some are free, some you have to pay. And if you have to pay something very cheap. And yes, but at the end of it, what is important is what can I offer? What can I offer to the society? And this is what a lot of universities are looking out for. Professors who want to have you as their PhD student or their master student, they want to know what you can offer. And this is why it's something we also have to talk in future about how to package your application, either for funded master's program, because there are several people applying, people from Malaysia, people from China, people from India. Everyone is applying. So you must stand out to ensure that your CV, your cover letter, your details are well informed, so that when they see it, they get attracted to you. So, and if you have some skills, build on those skills. Here are some free learning opportunities for you, and try to use that to always sell yourself. So I believe with this, I hope we'll be able to see how we can engage ourselves in more opportunities out there. So thank you for the attention, and I pray to Almighty Allah to continue to guide us right and improve us in knowledge and understanding. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Dr. Ibrahim. If there's anything I was able to pick from your presentation, I can see the connection between research, which is key to innovation, and you also connected that back to the industry. I mean, so there's a dotted line from research to innovation, and from innovation back to business. I mean, innovation drives businesses these days. And for the attendees, if there's a question on your mind around, okay, if I have my PhD, where is my space in the industry? I forgot to mention that Dr. Ibrahim currently works at German Aerospace Center as a researcher. So like he mentioned, I think it shuttles between the industry and the research world, the academia. So so he's able to make a balance. So if you desire such career, yeah, I think you have a mentor in Dr. Ibrahim. Inshallah, if you have questions, please drop your questions in the Q&A tab. We would move. I think in less than an hour, we've been able to move from Malaysia to Germany, but the journey is not complete yet. So right now we'll be traveling to the Middle East. We'll be traveling to Qatar to talk to Ajia Bilkis Badere. Ajia Bilkis Badere is a mother, and that has influenced our research interest. Our research interest is centered on autism, human-computer interaction, machine learning, and requirement engineering. She will be taking us through the journey of she's going to be sharing her experience on the journey to the research world. And particularly, she'll be focusing on how to make societal impact with your research, like she's doing. She's looking for solutions to autism. Ajia Bilkis Banere, you have the floor.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah. 1 minute, let me share my slide. So thank you for having me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I would like to say Jazakumullah khairan to the organizers of this program. We have really been benefiting from the webinar. May Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you all abundantly.
Amen.
Yes, I would like to say that all other panelists have talked about the main aspect of being a researcher. And for me, I'm still treading on that path, but I'm going to be sharing my experience with you, inshallah. So starting with the topic given to me, becoming a researcher, the practical steps and personal experience. I would like to take you through 4 key areas, which are practical steps, the personal experience, the opportunities, and societal impact. So starting with the practical steps, I would like to talk about the following points, is that 1, we need to identify our area of interest. The area of interest has to do with the area you would like to work for many years, and it has to be you have to do a thorough job in selecting that. It's not really a piece of cake. You just have to really look into what people are doing in order to find a space on what to work on. The second thing that I would like to mention is research about the choice of institution and requirements. If you look at different institutions, you need to look at what they want you to have, and you can compare in terms of your opportunities in those institutions. And the basic thing that you need to look for is the scholarship, of course. You need to know what are the benefits you will have, and also sometimes you can look at the proximity or the ranking of the institution as well. Then you need to also know about your potential advisors. If you have chosen an institution, you need to know what are the areas of interest of the potential advisors. You need to know about what they do. This will help you in trying to write up your statements of purpose and when you're applying for a master's or PhD as well. And also it can also help you to know the kind of interview the responses you will give when you are being interviewed. So you need to know about this. The next thing is you need to read publication of other experts. Aside the publication of your potential advisor, you really need to look into what others have done. This will give you a broader view of what your potential advisors are looking at. And lastly is developing the writing and communication skills. This is very important because it is one thing to do a research and come out with good results. It's another thing to present the idea to the community. So it really matters. We need to work on those areas. So that is that about the practical step. And now moving on to my personal experience. Well, if I want to talk about that, I am sure 24 hours will not be enough, but I will try as much as possible to talk about the points that are germane to the practical steps that I've talked about. So the first thing is, when you want to identify your area of interest, you really need to be among researchers or the environment where they do such things. Like for me, I developed my area of interest during my master's program, and it was during the one of the classes we had, human computer interaction. So I was able to observe the instructor and as well as other lecturers we have around. So I try to look into what they do and try to find my own interest. So the sincere interest about your area of interest is very important. It's because research is full of ups and downs. So you have to really choose an area that you think you can actually survive in. So that is key. Another thing is the choice of institution and requirements. Most of the institutions require you to take some exams, and they use that as the basic factor for admitting potential applicants. So looking at that, we have TOEFL, we have the GRE publications, and they want you to have like a strong CGPA. So for master's program, you might not necessarily need to do GRE and publication, but if you have them, it's a good opportunity for you. And more so, GRE lasts for 5 years. So you can, if you're applying for a master's program, you can take it. And looking at GRE, we have the verbal reasoning section and we have the quantitative section. So most of these institutions, what they require you to get is from the quantitative aspect. They want you to have 160 out of 170. So if you have that score in quantitative aspect, you are most guaranteed of having that, of being admitted. So you really need to focus on the GRE. And if you are looking into PhD applications, you need to have enough publications. That's another criteria, and a strong CGPA. So for me, for my bachelor's, I will not say my GPA was is that strong, but I was able to improve that during my master's program. So I think that was what gave me another opportunity with Allah's mercy. So that is key. We really need to look at this requirement closely, and we don't give up. Sometimes when we try the GRE, we find out, oh, this score is not really good enough. We just need to keep trying. And the next thing is the potential advisors. You really need to be open-minded and be critical. You need to know what they are doing and think outside the box. And this will really help you when you look at what other people are doing, as in the experts in that field. So, and it will actually keep you on top of your game. So we need to look at, learn from this experience that we should not give up, and try as much as possible to be open-minded. So that's that about my experience, to be precise. And moving on to the opportunities we have in the Middle East, I'll be talking about the opportunities we have in Qatar and in UAE. Those are the places that I'm familiar with. So starting with Qatar University, there are scholarships for masters, undergraduates, masters, and PhD, as well as Arabic for non-Arabic speakers. So these Arabic speakers, they don't require you to have GRE or other things, but they want you to have BSc certificate or something like that. Yeah. So if you have that, you can actually apply for that. It's highly competitive. So they give you accommodations, monthly allowance, and the like. So you live comfortably there. So if you try this as a stepping stone, you will have the opportunity to get used to environments and see other opportunities that they have there. So like I said, they also have scholarship for other programs. So we can check the links we have here to see the scholarship types that they have. And another institution I'll be talking about is Ahmad bin Khalifa University, where I'm currently studying. They provide scholarship for master's and PhD program. So this is automatic. Once you apply, they give you the scholarship automatically. And the opportunity we have here is that we are able to work with industries and work with research institutions. Like we have research institutions like Qatar Biomedical Research. We have in computing research and environmental and energy research. So aside from applying as a student, you can also apply as an employee, like a researcher employee at this institution. So they have a nice package as well that you'll be comfortable with. So those are the opportunities we have here in Qatar. And moving on to Abu Dhabi. We have Khalifa University. We have Khalifa University in Abu Dhabi. Their application is on now till like 1st of October. So they provide scholarship as a grant, graduate research or teaching assistants, whereby you teach and they give you monthly stipend. They pay institution fee as well. So you have, the package is good as well. So you have that opportunity. And you can also get opportunity in undergraduate program. And this was like a reimbursement method. For example, you need to apply from the first year with your own money, and it's quite expensive. Once you do that, by the time you get to 200 level and you have a good CGPA, you automatically get the scholarship and you get reimbursed. And they also have research centers so that you can move into after your master's or PhD program. You can work with this research institute as an employee as well. But I think it's mostly for local, and we have few of them for international as well. So moving on to UAE, United Arab Emirates University, they also have scholarship for master's program, PhD program, and undergraduate. But in their own case, you get for undergraduates, you get the scholarship right from the onset. You don't need to be reimbursed or something, but it is highly competitive. You must have like a good score in your SAT exam and all of that one. So you have the requirements in all these links that I've put here on the slide. So that's that about the opportunities we have in Qatar and in UAE. Now moving on to the societal impact of our research is that if you really want to look into research that have to influence be of benefit to the society, you need to look at interdisciplinary research, like Dr. Murtada have said. We need to collaborate with other people in the industry, and outside academia. So when we do this, we have the opportunity to look at other problems, look at other people's problem, and try to profile solution in another way, in another dimension. So that will really give us an opportunity in coming in to impact the society with our research. And another key drive that we can have is if you have the mindset of commercializing your research, or you can see that how can I use this research to benefit, how can people benefit from my research? So this can actually help you in coming up with research that has good impact in the society. So these are just the brief information I would like to give about the research and societal impact. And moving on to the takeaway message I would like to pass on here, because I know all other panelists have talked about that, is that one, research is all about finding what works and what does not work. So sometimes when you think things are not working well, we should not give up. We should keep trying until we find what works. Another thing is that being a researcher, you need to be conscious of your integrity, what you address, what you put up to time management and the like. So you have to be professional. And third is that it requires dedication, and you need to avoid shortcuts. Sometimes shortcut pays, but it does not last long. So we need dedication, we need hard work, we need to really in order to be on top of the game. And next is that we need to listen more. Sometimes we think we have an idea and we want to share it. Yes, we have that idea, but by the time you talk to people, try to listen more and hear their own view. It's also a good practice. And lastly, we need to learn to appreciate other people irrespective of their status, because research is all about critics as well. You come with an idea and people will tell you, why does it work this way? Why would it not work that way? So you don't have to take things personal. You just have to listen and try to see how you can imbibe that into your research. So that's that I have about becoming a researcher, my experience and the practical steps. So I would like to welcome other questions as time goes on. Thank you very much for having me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan to all our speakers. Yes, it has been an insightful session, sharing experiences, sharing resources, and bringing up ideas on how to be a researcher. Right now, I think the floor is open. We can take comments, questions. If you have your questions, the Q&A tab is open. You can drop your questions there. And for some of our facilitators we had at the last session, we still have them around. Dr. Ayetoro, Dr. Jubele, and Dr. Sharafadin. If you want to make one or two inputs, the floor is open. But while we expect other people to ask questions, or while we wait for other facilitators to make their comments, I just have a question which I would direct to Dr. Kafayat. Dr. Kafayat, some of us maybe per chance we went to LASU, and yes, we had to struggle with CGPA back in school. The CGPA is not good, but there's an interest in research. How can we mend things? How can we manage things? I don't have a fantastic CGPA, but I want to do my master's, I want to do my PhD. What advice can you give, Dr. Kafayat?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Actually, just like the other presenters have said, your results is not a limiting factor in most of the cases. But first and first, if you have a low CGPA, you shouldn't too much at the initial stage rely on a scholarship. Yes, it's going to be difficult, yes. Except if you want to do masters by research, full research. Even that, they do have CGPA as one of the criteria, but maybe by chance, if you have a very good proposal, it could be overlooked. So, but first thing first, look for probably a country where you don't have to spend so much on education and try to prove yourself. Once you prove yourself, CGPA will be a thing of the past in subsequently. So just like you can start a master's degree and pay, then subsequently you can get a scholarship based on your performance. So you still have to spend some money one way or the other, but it's not a limiting factor. But to get a scholarship directly, immediately, might be quite difficult. But if the person can spend some money, get in first, then opportunities await the applicants. Just like I said, Malaysia is a stepping stone. So you don't expect that, okay, but at least you can start from there. So with that, opportunities. Just like I've said, I know a lot of people that have moved to New Zealand, moved to Canada, moved to Australia from here. Even with small, with 2 in their bachelors. So now they're doing their PhD, they're doing their postdoc in those countries. Some of them, they now have a stay, they have a PR and all that. Even some with HND degree. So once they're able to excel here, maybe for masters or something, the sky is their starting point. So as long as you have a little bit of money to spend, you can start from somewhere like Malaysia or the UAE or something, where you can at least start first. Then once you are able to prove yourself, those criteria of CGPA will be dropped along the line. So I know a lot of people that have this issue, and now they are, they move very fast in their academic pursuits.
Okay, thank you so much. I have another question which I would direct to Dr. Ibrahim. Dr. Ibrahim, the questionnaire asks if student scholarship and grants offers are available in Germany, even for current students, like already I've started a program and can I benefit from scholarship just to get some relief?
Okay, thank you. There's something called this EPOS program, and it's always meant for people who are already in developing country, for example, Nigeria. But as soon as you arrive here in Germany, you are not entitled to this kind of scholarship. So the only scholarship that are available here when you're already here, there are many of them. And I think you have Deutsche Stipendium, a lot of all the scholarship are there. But the most important thing is before you embark on your program, always try to seek every avenue that are available to apply for those funding. Then if you resume and the result is not yet out, then that means while you are doing your program, you may also have the opportunity to go back to get that grant or that fund. So the most important thing is before you embark on your master's, first engage in applying to several funding opportunity. And if you're fortunate and your program begin before the result of the application is out, just go back to assess it, and you're part of the scholarship holder. So, but as soon as you arrive here in Germany, you will not be able to access those kind of scholarship. There are some that are available here. For example, all universities have this kind of, we call it EV. EV is like a kind of a student job within the university. So you may be working with a professor, supporting him in the laboratory. You might have access to some stipend that can help you pay your house rent, your basic expenses. So those ones are there in every university. And you may also look into some of all these big companies. But sometimes what I do tell people is, look at what you can do. If you're very good at working on Python, try to use that to sell yourself, because they are looking for people in that area. If you're very good at writing article and developing some kind of a write-up, use that to sell yourself to those professors. They want people like that. Some of them are not so comfortable using English language, and he will just have you with his team, and you'll be doing that role while you're also earning some money. Then you're also building your career from there. So there are several opportunities. So this is what I will say for now.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Abdulwakil, you want to ask a question? You can unmute and ask. Okay, while we wait for him, we take other questions. The questionnaire asks if the facilitator can share links to research institutions that give funding for international students. We will compile that and get it across, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
Just a quick addition, something to the two questions. Like Dr. Shubo Ali actually said, that if you are willing to spend some money, that is one way of overcoming the limitation that is, the limitations imposed by your CGPA, or you start with your master's degree. And for me, I will always encourage people to start with master's degree through that route, because it gives you a very strong research pedigree. And that is when you can afford to be innovative in whatever you'll be doing at your doctoral level. But for somebody who doesn't have that, standardized tests is one way to overcome that. For North America and American universities, nobody cares about your GP if you do your GRE and you are sitting above 95%, and that is very, very doable. A lot of people have mentored a lot of people for GRE. They make that score. It just need you to put in some hard work. Even 90%, we always get a master's in US with scholarship. The chances are high. Now, some things we've taken for granted. Many of us here, we've worked with MSS. All those things too count. It counts for you as leadership experience, what your professional accomplishment. If you add all those things to standardized tests, it gives you something. For the person who is asking up, who is already on the program and asking for scholarship, there's a website known as scholarship.com. Though many of what you will find, like Dr. Ibrahim said, they are limited by the fact that you are already on a program. They want you to apply when you are starting a program. But if you check scholarship.com, you will still find some people offering scholarship for people who are already on the program. But there is a body, Islamic Development Bank. They offer scholarships. Probably the call for next year is on now. It's still open, probably. I knew it was open a few weeks or months ago. Yeah, for them, it's actually an advantage for you. It's a plus for you. The fact that you are already on a program. They want you to be on a program, then that is when they fund you.
Thank you so much for your contribution.
Yes.
So there's another question here. The questionnaire asks which countries in the Middle East give opportunity for PR after graduate studies? I think I can answer. I'm not the facilitator, but none of them would give you a PR. At least the facilitators can correct me if I got that wrong, but I think none of them would give you. Another question here is, the questionnaire has a PhD in education and administration. and wants to know how to learn. She wants to learn how to source for research funding and market research findings. Yeah, I'll give that to Dr. Ibrahim again.
Okay, so she wants to market research findings. I think the first thing is to belong to one or two institution or organization. So where you can, I mean, maybe a professional organization, for example, that relates to what your finding is all about. And also try to link yourself up to people in the industry or in governance, because if your solution relates to what they want, they will definitely seek your consulting or consultancy service or something like that. So that's number one. And number two, searching for research grants for someone who already has a PhD. I think there are many of them out there. And I think I'm also trying to send some of the links now, like Dr. Jubile said, so Islamic Development Bank is there. I'll be sending that of the DAD scholarship too. So there's something called research visit grant. I think this is possible for whoever is in Nigeria that wants to come to Germany, for example. With this kind of grants, you come to spend 3 months with a professor. The first thing is to search for a professor in that field. And there's a way to package that application too. I think we'll be able to talk about that sometimes later. So when you approach the professor, if he or she likes you, then you will join his or her team, and you will start to do your 3 months. Then after that 3 months, there's also another grant that is possible. There is a built-up grant. So for example, there's a kind of joint project program where you can say, okay, I belong to Lagos State University, and I've spent 3 months with this professor in Germany. Let us start a joint program, like a joint master's program. So for example, maybe you want to have a joint master's in artificial intelligence and robotics in LASU, for example. So you can initiate this kind of thing together with that kind of that professor after you've spent the 3 months. And the main thing there is you just have to be hardworking, prove yourself, publish together with the professor, and be open to write proposals. So because this is the most important thing. If you're open to write proposals, you'll be able to give you the push through. So I think this is what I would say for that. Then on the aspect of commercializing your research results, there are several ways to do this. This is a huge field on its own, because the first thing is, do you own that research itself? And have you make it into a patent or a kind of intellectual property management? Then if you have all this, it will be easier for you to take it out there so that nobody will claim that it belongs to them. So there are many things to consider in this, and there are stages in commercializing research results. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry, Ajay Bilkis, some of us have spent so many years away from school, maybe because we needed to pursue our career to make some money, to set up things. Now, if we decide to go back to research, how easy it is to switch the gear from industry after, so, I mean, we've taken 10 years, some of us cannot remember calculus anymore, and we need to go back to research. How easy it is to switch gear to research after a long break?
Thank you very much. To that question, having a long break and coming back to research, it's not something easy, but it has to do with determination and what you want out of it, the zeal that actually pushing you to that area. And the first thing to do is to look into publications, what people are doing. And once you read about what people are doing, it will give you an insight into the skills you need to develop, the things you need to really master. Then once you have all that, you can try to look for the gap in what they are doing and try to work on that research gap area. So that's what I think it would be the best way for the person to really move into research.
Okay, so I'll throw this question open. The questionnaire asks if any of the facilitators is currently looking for graduate students, and what skills are they looking for in an applicant? So I'll take the silence for no.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
yes. Mike sounds like that.
I just want to say that it's okay. Currently, I'm not in the academic sector again anymore at the moment, but I'm still a visiting lecturer. So, but it depends on which area we're looking at. If it's telecoms and surrounding area, yes, we can. Something is doable, but the person have to have good scores or good points at the undergraduate level with respect to those telecom courses and the mathematical courses, as well as some research interest in that aspect as well. Programming will come handy if you have some programming knowledge. Then I think sometimes your industrial experience could also help, but it's not a key factor. So those are the things that I think would come handy. But generally speaking as well, it doesn't have to be the facilitators. I think what's important is if you have interest in this particular area, I think what Las Mega GC is trying to do is to also move a step further beyond the stage of awareness, where I think we can always contribute towards how do you go about getting an admission, and it's also university or with a particular professor. How do you package yourself with respect to statement of purpose or writing the first email, or how do you get fundings with respect to particular research? So those are key things we should be able to do with respect to on an individual basis or a group level beyond this level, such that we can have more brothers and sisters in willing to do research. Because the key thing is you have to have passion for it. I think like Hajab Belkis said, there will be ups and downs. So if you are not passionate about research, you would excuse me, you lose focus, or you would get frustrated. So it's the important thing is level of endurance is required, and a reasonable level of endurance is required, because it's an unknown field, it's an unknown outcome. You don't know what will come out of it. You're only going into it because you want to. We want to know what is going to be the possible outcome. And if you're not able to have the level of endurance that's required, you get frustrated, and perhaps you don't get whatever you want to do done, because we have people doing PhD and they don't finish. It's a possibility. So it's important that you're passionate about it. So if we have that passion, then the required level with respect to your perhaps academic performance or some other things that are required, and then we can always see how we can come together and see how brothers and sisters can get the required admissions and opportunities towards becoming a researcher or exploring the research field. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so Dr. Kafayat, I have two questions, but I'm going to match the two questions together. The questioner asked if, what is the motivation? What can be the motivation to write a technical paper? And how important is writing a technical paper before traveling? I'm suspecting that's before starting the journey into research world.
Actually, the first thing, like all the presenters have said, it's all about passion and your willingness to learn more. Writing a technical paper is more like an art. Yes, I would say that most of us, if you ask any one of the panelists or any one of us here, they will tell you that when they started out, we know very little. But one thing I know is that if you have a passion and you really want to succeed in doing something, you will find a way. There is always a way. So writing is not as difficult as this, but you must pay attention to details. Look at previous research in your area of interest. Look at how they structure the write-up and think about what you can do to add up or to improve. It won't be easy, but you have to read a lot. That's the bottom line. You will have to read a lot. And if you do not understand, look for people in your immediate environment. Say before you leave Nigeria, look for people who are already in the academics, who are in the area, who you can talk with, who you can leverage with based on their experience. They can put you through some things. So it is not as difficult as most people think it is, but it is a lot of work. You must be able to read widely. It requires you to read a lot. You must read a lot and leverage on experts who are within your reach, or even who are not within your reach, people you can easily approach. You can send emails, ask them questions, query them. Okay, I want to write about something like this. Oh, can you help me look at this? Does it, do you think it's okay? Can I submit this paper for publication and all that? So you need to, this cannot be stressed enough. Almost all the presenters I've talked about, you need somebody who can be a mentor, or you need people in the area who you can approach, who you can ask. You cannot do it alone, especially when you're a first-time writer. You need somebody to help you critically look at what you're writing. And they can tell you, oh, why don't you look at it this way? Download publications from these journals, or look at, these are some of the things that you will learn from people who are already established in the field. So it's not difficult, but it's a lot of work. You need to read widely.
Yeah, thank you so much. You cannot give what you don't have, so you need to read before you can write a good paper. Dr. Ojukule, please go ahead with your contribution.
How important is it to write a technical paper? Trust me, it increases your worth as a student. If I want to work with you and you can show me your name on a journal article, you don't need to be the sole author. At this level, you don't need, just like Dr. Kafaya said, you don't need to be the sole author. I just want to see you. In fact, for me, you might not even need to be the author. I want to see you being acknowledged that on this paper, Mr. Olalekan Bankole work, on this paper as a research assistant. That gives me more confidence that you'll be able to cope because you've had an idea of what it takes. So it increases your leverage. In fact, in some very top universities, in their checklist for evaluating you as a student, they want to see what do you know about research. I have a friend today who is in Harvard, as a faculty in Harvard. In that same Harvard, he did his master's there. They won't give him letter. He doesn't want to do his PhD in Harvard. They won't give him recommendation to any other school, and they won't give him funding in Harvard because on his program at Harvard, you doing a research, a thesis for your master's is optional. And he said, no, I don't want that option. Thank you. Until somebody called him and said, look, I know you came top of your class, but because we could not vouch for your research competence, that is why nobody's willing to give you money or recommendation. That was when he went back, spent additional 3 months to do a mini dissertation. So now, how do you go about it if you are not in academic? It's what I've implied it already. And I want to encourage those of us who want to go out and study. It's going to make our life easier. Look for somebody, an academic. On this large Sumeka platform, I know about 10 people, if not more, who are based in Nigeria. Look for an academic that is working in that field, work with them on a paper. In fact, I could only ask you, okay, search for 20 journals for me that I will give you some criteria. You are doing something because for you to get those criteria right, you will have read the abstract and probably the introduction of those 10 or 20 articles, and you are learning. I could ask you to play around with data if it's there where I need to do some data modeling. So gradually, you are learning the art, the trade, the writing. So work with someone. It's going to give a lot of weight to your CV if you want to go out of that, Nigeria for postgraduate study is something that is very important. And let me briefly steal something here too. There was this question posed to the Haji Abilikis about how do you cope when you've forgotten everything about the mathematics and everything? The good thing about research at this level beyond is for specific research you are into, you need some specific combination of skill. In most cases, they are not enormous. For example, I remember it was me and Aitoro then. when I was doing modeling for my master's. All I needed was to understand on Jikuta. It's easy because I know a specific thing. And go out there. There are so many resources that will make it easy for you. So the fact that we're far away from academic doesn't, I mean, yeah, it could pose a challenge, but it's not a limitation. Please, it's never a limitation. As you find your way in the research world, you will know exactly what you need, and you will pick it up in very short space of time. Sorry.
Mike, sorry, thank you
Please,
so much.
I just want to add one line. There's one key thing that's not been said. Please, this journal they are referring to, or the technical paper they are asking you to write, I don't think is Nigerian technical paper, please.
Please, no.
International IXI index or Scopox index, but there are some international index you have to look at. I'm not trying to belittle what is obtainable in Nigeria, but I'm trying to say that writing a journal in a Nigerian context or Nigerian journal, nobody sees it out there. So if you are trying to target something out there and you're looking at Nigerian standard publication, I don't think it would be of any good. It could be a stepping stone, but that's not what you want to send out there as a means of getting admission. I think that's fundamental. Thank you.
Okay, so I have 2 more questions to take before we round up, and I would want to crave the indulgence of attendees that will finish 5 minutes beyond 12:30, so 12:35, inshallah. I will just throw open the question. This is it. Some of us are in the industry, but want to have the best of both worlds. Some people will crave the PhD title, appended to their names. Would you advise leaving the industry, resigning your job to go deeply into research just to get PhD? Is it something worth considering? I'm going to throw it open. Any of these facilitators can respond to that.
Bismillah Rahman Rahim. I would like to say something on this. I think sometimes I do tell many of my friends in the industry that they themselves are knowledge-based, and it's easier for them to come back into the research world because at a certain level of expertise, you are at a position where you advise, you play some kind of, you give experts and solution-oriented possibilities to the topic you manage in your company. So for them to come back to the research world or to do their PhD, most times I do tell them, focus on what you do at your company, look at the problems and try to find a supervisor that can supervise your PhD. Then you can begin this kind of PhD possibilities so that you can have your PhD in this field. So look at what you do currently and look at the problems around that. And there are a lot of professors out there. They are looking for people like you who are already experienced in that field because they know you deal with the business world and you are more solution-oriented. And when you're telling them that this is what is obtainable in the market, they tend to listen to you more than any other person. So I believe it's easy for you to switch into a research world to do your PhD in that field that you are doing, in that area you are working on in your company. So yeah, this is just my advice.
Yeah, thank you. So I was going to ask 2 questions. One, I've asked one. So the last one, I'm going to combine these 2 questions together. Dr. Kafayat, you responded earlier about people with low CGPA, and you said there is a need for an investment on the person's part, at least at the initial stage. Now someone asks that, okay, if the person does not have the means, so what is the way out? I have low CGPA, I have low funds, and I want to proceed in the area of research. I'm going to match that to the second question, which the questionnaire apparently maybe in the process of applying to universities, you are trying to put up a statement of purpose, I suppose. Is it a must that you put a reference when you put up such statements? If you can answer those 2 questions, we'll end the session.
Okay, thank you very much, my brother. Actually, Dr. Jibile has answered the number 1 question that says that aside you having the money to start first, that you can do GRE, or get into US university, and once you have a very top score, you're good to go. Yes, there is no doubt about it. You need a lot of searching. You need to do a lot of homework. Even those who has the required CGPA too needs to do a lot of work. So everybody needs to do a lot of work. So he has mentioned that you can do GRA and some other exams. If you come tops, nobody's going to look at your CGPA again. So which I agree, but that is not in Malaysia actually. But in developed countries like the US and Canada, those are applicable. So the person might, it's a lot of work. You need to do a lot of work. So that is that. You need to look at the GRA aspects and get the best score as much as you can so that you can get a full scholarship, just like he has mentioned. So the second one is about.
Yeah, sorry. Second, what the person says is problem statement. Do you have to put reference in your problem statement?
It depends on institution. Like where I finished from, in your problem statement, you don't put a reference. It's like you identify those references are going to be put in other section of your work. So it is highly dependent on probably the university or your supervisor.
Okay.
But where I finished from, you really don't put a reference at the problem statement. It's something that you have observed and you're putting it in your own words.
Okay. I think at this point, we are going to round off the session. I'm Ajia Bilkis Banere, Dr. Kafayat, Dr. Ayetoro, Dr. Sharafaddin, Dr. Jugbele, Dr. Ibrahim. We appreciate your time. Yes, we have half dozen of doctors. I mean, Lasumega is blessed, and we really appreciate the knowledge you've shared with us. It's beneficial. May Allah reward you all abundantly. Going forward, I'm sure there's a phase 2 of this event, which will go deep dive, will identify interest. We might still revert back to you to get more support for members. Pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept what you have done for us as act of worship. Pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you. You want to better us, we pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to better your ways. At this junction, I would draw a curtain on the session. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Thank you very much, organizers. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.